Here goes another Zero Electric project. This is the electric dirt bike. I purchased it on eBay and I bought it with a bad battery pack. And I planned on doing the same thing to this one as the street bike I did. I purchased a battery pack out of a wrecked Tesla Model S, put it in the Chinese plastic holders, tack welded it, then I put some plexiglass in between each layer, then taped it all together. If you want to see more details on that, basically look at the other street bike video, it'll give more details. I changed the inside of the pack, added a disconnect in there, a contactor, and added these hookups for the cables so it's easier, cleaner. Of course, there's no power coming out until you add 7 volts to that contactor. That's my BMS hookup. These are the cats that do nothing but cause wiring problems. Once I got it all finished, I hooked it up to the bike. It worked great. It worked great, drove great, just like the street bike I did. If you want more details on the inside of the pack, it's exactly the same as this project, the street bike. The voltage is the same, the hookup's the same, it's just a little more cells than the dirt bike. I hooked it up, it ran great, everything was working perfect. I was ready to go. I wanted to clean it up a little bit, so there was 2 wires next to this factory BMS that were a little short. Next to my PC power supply plug right here, there was 2 wires right in the bending point there, so I cut them and extended them. Of course, I goofed up and miswired them, crossed those 2 wires, plugged it up. This cheesy piece of junk BMS system that comes with it exploded, of course, and I have done a lot of BMSs and made a lot of mistakes. I hate to admit that, but they usually don't blow up. But that BMS is full of resin, so you can't even repair it, or at least I can't. You'd have to grind it or liquefy that resin somehow and then repair it. So I called Zero, said I would like to purchase one. They told me, sure. How much do you owe on your house? But really it was like $4,000, ridiculous price. You had to buy a whole new battery pack, which is ridiculous. And the reason I'm sure it's that way is because they probably don't make them. So they probably have to buy a whole pack as well. But anyways, so they won't sell you one. So I had to switch gears into hot wiring the bike. And this will help a lot of you guys out there if you want to put Leaf battery packs in Zero. They won't work with the original computer, so you'll have to hotwire the bike, basically make it turn on without Zero's junk in the way. So you'll need to hook up the positive wire of the battery pack to the blue and white and the orange and white. The blue and white goes to the controller, the orange and white goes to the 12-volt inverter. You'll also have to hook up the right-hand side of the contactor to the negative of the battery. Now remember, the orange and white does the 12-volt inverter. The blue and white does the controller. So you'll have to do both of those. Once you hook both of those to the positive, this little box underneath here, that little silver thing, is the 12-volt inverter that takes the full pack voltage and converts it to 12 volts. Now the big thing is the throttle. You're gonna have to cut the throttle cable. This is where it's important. If you don't do this part and you turn on the bike, it's gonna take off as you turn the key off. So there's a little plug right underneath that little plastic piece right there. Just follow the throttle wire. There's a plug. Undo it. Hook it straight to the controller. Just take the throttle wires, bypass that computer altogether, go right to the controller. It's real simple, not hard at all. It's the same colors and everything. You just don't want it to go through that computer up there at the top. That's the 12-volt inverter. It takes the full pack voltage and changes it to 12 volts for your display and all that. That's where that wire goes to, the orange and white wire goes to. But you hook that to the positive and it'll turn it on. But the throttle is the big one. There's a plug there, just undo it and hook it directly to the inverter. It's real simple. If you have any questions, just send me a message through YouTube and I'll answer it, but that'll make it to where the throttle works. So I added this aftermarket Orion BMS. You don't need this. It doesn't hook to the computer of the bike at all. I just wanted to make sure all the different Tesla battery cells were being balanced. It's really neat because the Orion BMS has lots of adjustments. You can monitor everything. It's really cool. Really easy to use. It's not really that hard to hook up. Um, Obviously, I've been using them for a while in all our electric cars, but you can monitor all the voltage, the lowest cell, the highest cell, the total pack voltage, which is really cool. Of course, the original does this, but you can't monitor it because Zero is anal retentive with their software. So, of course, you can't monitor or change any of it. But since I blew it up, I can use my own, and it works out really good. I also got this aftermarket charger because using this adapter, I can monitor the charging and actually adjust it and make the charge stronger or weaker, so it charges faster. And I can also see the battery cells through the charger hooked up to my PC, which is really cool. You can also do a digital display. I don't really need that. I use it in the cars, but the motorcycle is not that big of a deal. But here's the finished project. I took the stickers off, obviously, so it looks a little plain right now. I'm going to have it airbrushed, but there's the BMS tucked in that little spot there, so I can make hot swap battery packs and still use the same BMS. There is my hookups. That's the hookup for the data that hooks up the CAN to your computer. That's it's an AC plug, but I made it for 12 volt, so you can turn on the Orion BMS when it's charging and monitor it without having the bike on. The way it works is a little different than the original, which I actually like better than the original. When you want to start the bike, the key is mainly just used for the handlebars to lock or whatever. It will not start it. This has to be on, and then you reach down and push this fire missile button, and that'll close the contactor in the battery pack and let the power flow through, and it runs fantastic. If something goes wrong, instead of going through any major shutdowns or keys or whatever, just hit that little red button, boom, cuts the power to the contactor, bike shuts off inside the battery pack. If you want to start it again, just flick that switch. Now there's one last weird part. I added a 9-volt battery because that's all you need is a real minute power to close that contactor. And I did that so when I go to the river I can pull that 9-volt battery out and no one will ever in a million years figure out how to start it. But this is the finished project. It was very interesting. If I can help at all, let me know. Just message me.